What's up, everybody in CodeX land? This is Dan here doing another interview with another CodeXer, and this time it is Sal the Slab Guy.
What's up?
What's up? So you were the next one on the chopping block to
Yep.
to lay bare your soul of your
Oh,
comic collecting, and as the
jeez.
background, as you can see, is a older picture of his slab wall that you could see behind him. So you'll see that some of the books are the same, some of them are a little different. That is
Yep.
because of the millions and millions of slabs that he has. But we'll get into that a little bit later. So first off, thank you for sitting down to talk with me.
Sure, no problem. Anytime.
So let's just start off with the question that I start off with everyone asking: what is it that got you interested in comics to begin with?
I like the stories. The first X-Men book I read really got me hooked, but I gravitated towards Spider-Man. I would say because I always felt that science nerd connection with him type of thing, and always down on his luck, But Spider-Man was like my go-to guy, and then I kind of branched out from there to GL. Hal Jordan Green Lantern was another one I always wanted to emulate because of his confidence level. I felt like if I could emulate his confidence level, I would be better off in my own life. So
based on the thousands of dollars of books you have on the wall behind you, I don't really think you could save down on your luck.
This was back when I first started collecting. Yeah. All right.
So what was it? But what was it that got you interested to like actually picking up the first books and reading them or buying them?
So, like I said, the first book I read was that X-Men 133. It was the Wolverine lashes out one. It was action. It was just awesomeness, and it was amazing. And classic book. But my friend that had that book didn't have any other issue, so I was like, what happens? Where do I go? I don't know what happens. And
didn't you tell us before that you used to like whenever you would go over his house, you would just always sit and read that one?
That's correct. That is correct. I always read that one when we went over to his house. So that book probably got beat to shit. It's probably thrown in the trash now. But whatever. It was the one that got me hooked. Back in like junior high school, I didn't really have a good part-time job that gave me money, so I never really bought anything until I started high school and had a steady part-time job. And then I found my first books I ever purchased was out of the 7-Eleven, right down in the same complex where I was working. And I started picking up a spectacular, or not spectacular Spider-Man, Amazing Spider-Man, and I also picked up classic X-Men, which happened, as luck would have it, be right after in line of 133. It was like a few issues down from 133, and it just happened to be there, and I'm like, why is this classic? Well, I didn't understand the concept of classic X-Men or X-Men classic at the time. I was just like, oh yeah, all right, I remember this story. And I'm like, I'm just gonna buy the crap out of this, and of course, just I had no real responsibilities in this job, so all the money I was making was, outside of gas money and maybe going out with some friends. Everything else was going to go into comic books. So I started just buying everything off the rack from that 7-Eleven. And as fate would have it, that job had me run supplies over to another one. Believe it or not, that job was called Errol's Video Club, if you remember that one.
Oh yeah, I remember Errol's. So you were 16, so you were in high school when you started buying them?
Yes. When I, because that's when I really had money. So I had to run supplies to a store in Albany, and out of the corner of my eye, I see Zenith Comics and Collectibles up in in a strip mall type of shopping center, and I'm like, I gotta check that out. Sure enough, I went and checked it out, and the guy introduced me to pull lists, introduced me to variant covers, introduced me to like a whole slew, even bagging and boarding. I had no idea about bagging and boarding. I just bought them and read them, and like, oh, that's cool. Let me just throw it down over here. That type of thing. So it introduced me to the whole thing, the bagging, the boarding, the collecting, the variants, and then from there, lots of other different characters. Like I opened up the Batman, opened up to a little bit more other characters as well. So And then at the time, I think Spider-Man had 5 titles, Superman had 5 titles, Batman had 5 titles, Robin had his own title. It was like I was going nuts. I think my shop haul was like $200 every visit. Like every couple of weeks it was $200 because I think I got up to like 40 titles a month at one point.
Wow.
And I had to cut that back.
So when you started reading comics, like you didn't really start as a casual reader. Like you read at your buddy's house, and then when you started buying them, you just went straight into collecting.
Oh my god! Yeah, I was like, oh my god, I gotta have this. That type of thing.
You went straight. You skipped the whole like, oh, I'll just pick up random issues off the rack that at the at the 7-Eleven that look cool. You went straight to subscribe me to 800 titles.
Yeah, well, just about, because the thing I didn't understand is that Batman, the Dark Knight Batman or whatever, Batman, and then Detective Comics Batman were like 3 different continuities at the time, or 3 different stories. So I go up and I pick up one. And I'm like, okay, do I have this one? I'm reading. I'm like, why don't I have this? He goes, oh, that's Detective Comics Batman. I'm like, what am I collecting? He goes, well, you're just collecting Batman. And I'm like, can you put that on my list too? So then, that's how I started branching out,
So what was it when you started collecting and it's all right, I'm collecting and I'm just reading stuff as it comes out. Mm-hmm. What was the I was gonna say, well, I get you kind of start off as a collector right at the beginning, but what was the first run where you said, all right, I'm going to go back and start buying, or before you started buying back issues for a certain run? When was it that you decided, like, oh, I don't just have to get these new books, I can get back issues. I can get these other ones that came out before it.
Two titles started that with me: Classic X-Men and Spectacular Spider-Man. Okay, because when I picked up that Amazing Spider-Man, I thought it was amazing, unintended. Then I was like looking at them like, oh my god, there's so many back issues. I'm never going to be able to collect all those. But hey, Spectacular Spider-Man was only at 55, something like that. I'm like, well, that's more doable. Batman had like 400 issues out, or 500 issues out, and it's like I'm not going to be able to get all those. So I'll pick a title that I can get the back issues on. So it was Spectacular Spider-Man and Classic X-Men were the first 2.
Those were the first 2. Those were the first 2 where you're like, I'm gonna go back and try and get all. So it wasn't like that you were just going back and buying random back issues, like oh, this looks cool, this looks cool. It's like, oh, I can buy old ones. I'm gonna get these specific ones.
Yes, correct. That is absolutely correct.
So which of those, or was it one of those, or was it another one? Which was the first title that you had a complete run of?
It's going to be Classic X-Men, because Spectacular Spider-Man was a very close second, and the problem with Spectacular Spider-Man was the first appearance of Cloak and Dagger in that series I could never find. I literally could never find it. It was such a hard book to find, and outside of my own shop, I didn't know really where to look, and there was no other real comic book stores near me, except there was one in Wheaton, but that was called Barbarian Comics at the time. I'm not sure if they're still there or not. Probably are.
I think they are.
Yeah, but that's like a dollar bin diver's dream, because they are just boxes on top of boxes, and you just have to dig for it. And like, do you have any Amazing Spider-Man? He's like, yeah. Look at this wall of boxes. There's somewhere in there, like the type of thing. It's like, well, I don't have like 3 hours to actually spend searching for them, but okay, whatever. Anyhow, so Spectacular Spider-Man probably was the closest, but I think Classic X-Men was the first one that I actually completed.
But you did complete both of them.
Yes. So I also completed Alpha Flight Volume 1. Oh gosh, there's a ton of others that I've completed, but I don't know. Not like Gary, I don't have X-Men #1, that type of thing. But yeah, I'm sure there's other series I just can't think of on top of my head.
So you said that you found this shop, and and that was your primary spot for getting comics.
Right.
when did you start branching out to knowing like, oh, there's other shops, and they go to this other shop, or like, oh, there's these things called conventions, let me go
So,
there. When you start
so
looking at stuff, I know from when you went to Baltimore Comic Con with me last year,
yeah,
you said that was the first time that you'd ever been to that convention.
correct. Um, the conventions were very hard for me to get to. There was just either bad timing or best not the money for it at the time, or that type of situation, or something was going on with family, and I just never really had the opportunity to do a con. So cons came later in life, and I would find other comic book stores just in passing. Like I didn't really know how to look them up. There was no internet. There was no searching Google back in that day. You just happened to drive by it, and like, is that a comic book store? Oh my
Yeah.
god, yeah, it was. All right, got to remember that for next time I'm out. That type of thing.
So, what was the
So,
first convention that you went to?
gosh, I honestly I don't know. It was in Baltimore. It had to be a small one. I think it was like the one in Frederick.
Yeah.
The shop, like the shop ones.
Hmm.
I think I've been to. I think that was pretty much my first ones before I knew it was called shop.
Yeah.
Promotional, type of thing. Yeah. So yeah, the ones in Frederick were probably my first one.
What was
I couldn't even tell you when.
I was gonna say, what was the feeling you had walking into a convention the first time and seeing it's like a comic shop times 10 times 20.
Yeah, it's a little bit of overload, a sensory overload. It was like holy crap, and yeah, because I remember this. Yeah, I think it was shop because it was Frederick, and I have this bad habit. That's you start the first table you walk up to. It's like, okay, I got to buy all this. Oh, I'm done with my money. What am
Yeah.
I doing now? Okay, let's go walk around. That type of thing. So, I had to learn patience to walk around, check out all the tables, but it was just insane with the amount, about the comics galore and excuse me, and seeing the books on the wall, like they call wall books now, type of thing.
Yeah.
And yeah, that was a bit crazy. And then seeing like first time seeing cosplay people too, which was pretty cool.
So growing up when you were reading comics, did you have any other friends that were into it, or that you could talk to about it, or was it just you
Just
go to
me.
the shop, you get your books, and you talk to whoever is there?
I went to the shop, talked to whoever was there, and it was usually the shop owner.
Yeah.
It was usually the shop owner. So, side note, that's where I met of my first artist or author, Martin Odell.
Nice.
Yep, he did a
So
signing at that shop.
all right. So yeah, I was gonna ask, we've all, met various creators over the years. So Martin Odell was the first one that you met. Who was the first big time creator that you met that really like blew you away, where you were like, oh my god, I'm meeting, so and so?
Unfortunately, that's not until recently I met Chris Claremont.
Yeah.
I mean, Martin Odell, nice as can be, great person to talk to. He was great, but I just didn't. I guess I didn't understand the concept of how big he was to Green Lantern, at least for the Golden Age. The
Hmm.
Alan Scott era. So I didn't really grasp that concept, you might say. But Chris Claremont's probably my biggest meet that I met in Baltimore with you just
Hmm.
recently.
All right. So we all, I think, most fans, but I know us,
Mm.
we don't just collect comics. You start collecting the other stuff that goes along with it. There's figures and statues and prints, and I say that like looking right in front of me, where I have like a bunch of different Green Lantern rings and
Oh, yeah.
Star Wars figures and an Optimus Prime figure, and all this stuff. At what point did you start yeah, so at what point did you say, yeah, not including like action figures and stuff that
Mm.
you did as a
Okay.
kid? At what point did you go from just collecting comics to like, oh, there's all this other stuff that kind of ties into it? I can start, collecting some of this.
I would say shortly after that shop, Zenith Comics, because they had action figures there too, and but then I started picking them up at like Targets or WalMarts and stuff like that. And the other thing I really liked collecting, and I don't have it anymore, I got rid of it, was you remember the Spider-Man, the '90s cartoons from Spider-Man?
Yeah.
McDonald's had a big promotional event for it, and it was all the little cars type of thing, and they had the big backdrop where they show off the toys.
Uh-huh.
I had that. And
Oh, all the little Happy Meal toys?
yeah, all the Happy Meal toys. I had that background, that
Oh,
big
wow.
that thing that they set up that
Mhm.
showed off all the toys. I had that, which was awesome. And yeah, and I also started working at Warner Brothers Studio Store in Montgomery Mall and Tyson's, and I started getting into the DC side of things with Batman, and of course they had tons of Batman paraphernalia. And if you remember the Batman Forever, um,
Yes. Ugh.
I know, not the movie. Let's just remember it as on a whole. They
Yeah.
had like an 8-foot bat symbol that actually hung up on their marquee. That said Batman Forever. It was just cardboard, but it was
Mhm.
awesome. And when they took it down, my my boss put it in the back, and I said, "Hey, what are we gonna do with this?" He goes, "I'm just gonna throw it away." I said, "Can I throw it in my car?" He goes, "As long as it's out of the store, I don't care what you do with it." I'm like, "Okay." Right in my car. So I had that up in my parents' house bedroom when I was down there, down the basement area. So I had the room for a nice 8-foot bat symbol up on my wall. But
Do you
unfortunately, I
still
got
have
rid of
that?
that too. What's that?
I said, do you still have that?
No, unfortunately, I had to get rid of that too.
Sounds like you used to have a lot of cool stuff that you don't have
I had
anymore.
the tall Spider-Man and Venom action figures that would talk if you press the button.
Oh, okay.
I had those. I actually sold. I actually sold a lot, or all my toys, I'll say, mostly on eBay at one point. And the funny story from that was I wasn't really making much. I probably just earned my money back plus a couple of dollars whenever I sold the toys. But there was one toy that actually made me a shit ton of money for back then, and that was Onslaught. I actually had the villain Onslaught,
Oh, nice.
and it was pretty good look. It was pretty cool, but I was gonna get rid of it, and I'm selling it on eBay, and that thing started jacking up on the price. And you look at the bids, and you could tell who's bidding on it, and it's 2 comic shops are bidding on it, and that thing went
Oh,
for $85,
wow.
which was a lot for me. So I was like, hell yeah.
Was it
So,
still like in the package?
oh hell yes, it was still in the
Oh, okay.
package. Yeah.
So it wasn't like Sunny, you didn't take it out and like rip its arm off.
No, I do not do that with my action figures. My action figures all stay in the box. I don't have any more action figures because I got rid of it. So, but yeah.
Well, do you still collect I know, I've seen you buy some prints and get a few things here and there. Do you still collect any of the other stuff?
Not so much the toys or the action figures or stuff like that, but if they have like the little gimmicky things like the lantern rings, I would pick up those. I do have a lot of prints as well. I can show them off if you want to see them. But you can also see them on my YouTube channel. I did shorts on all of those for my channel. Um, but then no, I didn't really get back into it. I only collected the gimmicky stuff, like I said, with the power rings or something like that. Something small, because I didn't have the room at my parents' house to really store anything. I had a,
Would
I
that
had a
be
co-
this YouTube channel?
Oh, hey, yeah, there I am. Check me out at Sal's Comic Corner on YouTube, and you can see all my stuff. Really, I've actually recorded almost all of it. I think I got another 2 or 3 boxes of slabs I need to record, but you know,
All right, so let's get into that. As
uh,
we can see, you've got the slab wall behind you. You've
yep.
got the other version of the slab wall in the background here. You've
Mm-hmm.
got the station where the channel where you deal with the slabs. So, what was it that got you into grading comics? That what was the first graded or first book that you got graded? Did you buy? Was your first one one that was already graded that you bought, or did you get one that you had graded?
No, okay. So the first 2 books I sent off in one submission through comic book store at the time was Amazing Spider-Man 300 and that Gambit 266, X-Men 266,
Well,
which was his second appearance.
Let's see it.
This one, I was trying to find my Amazing Spider-Man one, but I could not find it. But
Well,
look,
you
it's
know
the
what?
second.
You can see it in the background of this video.
You can. Yes, you can. So, and here's the stupid thing. I didn't even realize it because I didn't know anything about it. But it actually says, whoops, can you see it? No, you can't.
No.
There it is. X-Men Legacy, number 266. So it was slabbed wrong, and I didn't even realize it at the time, to tell you the truth.
Yeah, wrong date, too.
Yeah, wrong date, too, 7/12, which is not that date whatsoever. Yeah, so I'm going to correct that, have it pressed, and hopefully get a higher grade and see what happens with that. So those are the first two that I submitted. Now, during the submission process, because back when I submitted these things, the turnaround time was like a year. It was just like painfully long. And
at what point was this that you submitted these for the first time?
What year was it?
Yeah, when was it?
Oh, I don't even remember. Oh, I don't even remember. Nope, I don't even remember.
You've been collecting slabs so long you don't even remember when you started.
I'm too old. I suffer from CRS, okay? Google CRS, people, if you want to know what it is. Anyhow, gosh, I can't even remember the year. I'm going to have to... No, I can't, because both of these issues were back issues, I think, that I bought.
Okay, but that was the first graded stuff you got was sending those off?
Well, hold on a second. Sending those off were my first submitted books. In that turnaround time of a year, I actually bought that Incredible Hulk book with Wolverine with the claws burnt.
Oh, the McFarlane one?
Hulk. Yeah, the McFarlane one. I actually bought that one already slabbed. Hey, dog. And I bought that before I got the other two back.
Okay. But you only bought one before you got the other ones.
Correct.
So what was it that got you interested in getting comics graded? How did you even find out that was a thing, and then what got you interested in wanting to move your collection into that way?
Well, I first saw them at some comic book stores where they had them up on the wall, and I thought primarily it was just for display. Mm-hmm. Here's this book. Look how nice it looks, the type of thing, and it's excuse me, and it's displayed up on the wall. So I figured, wow, that would be great to display. There's probably some good books out there to display. And then then of course, when I remember this specifically because when I was at the store talking about the slabs, that the shop owner was kind of like, slabs are okay. You don't really have to do it. Blah blah blah. It does offer some protection. And of course, some person that's overhearing the whole conversation jumps in and says, "Well, you're just stealing the book in a tomb. Why don't you just throw it in the trash after that? Because that's all you're doing." And it's like, whoa,
there.
I know. He was just like over the top rude about it. Like, I don't care if you want to give me your opinion on it. Like, yeah, I don't really care for it because you can't read the book. No, this guy was like really over the top about not slabbing. It's like one of those diehard wall people, right? And I asked about like UV protection, that type of thing, and of course they don't really protect UV too much, but they you could get ways around that. I don't know if there's any UV protection lenses out there that you could buy. I think there might be. I'll have to look that up. But I wasn't too concerned about it because at the time I was living in a basement. There was no windows. It's like I was the creature from the Black Lagoon. There was no windows. I'm not going to worry about UV in that retrospect. So I didn't really care. I really liked it because how it displayed, and it felt clean and nice and presentable to me.
So for you, it wasn't so much about the value of, this is, if I get a high grade on this is going to add so much value to my book. It was just, hey, right. I like the way this looks. I like the case. I like this label. It looks really cool. Let me get that so I can put them on display. Right.
And I had the guy look at both of those books, and I remember him telling me that my Spider-Man was in pretty good shape. Should get like a 9. And it came back at a 7, as you can tell on on the thing. And I was like, well, what happened with that? And he's like, well, I don't know. Did you pay for grader's notes? And I'm like, there's grader's notes? You know, I didn't know this.
Did you get it pressed? What? What's that?
What? What's that? Exactly. I kind of jumped into it before I really researched it, you might say, but whatever. You know, that's then be the breaks. So I no, it wasn't the value. It was more the presentation for me.
All right. So the first ones you sent off was the X-Men and the Spider-Man book. And then
Right.
while you were waiting the year or so for that, you got the Hulk book. So you had 3 of them. So how do you go from having 3 to how many is it that you own now?
I don't know.
Roughly? How many is it?
Let me look. Let me tell you right now. Hold on, because I got it in my CLZ. Let's see statistics. Because I love CLZ because I actually can add details like this to it. So slabbed, 297.
297. Soon to be well over that. So how do you go from in this span of about roughly a year of acquiring through grading and purchase 3 slab comics to now having almost 300? At what point did it go from like, oh, I'll have a few of these to just I'm going to have this massive amount of them?
It kind of snowballed. Because when I started getting into the slabs and the slabbing process. One of the natural progressions to that is, hey, you get this book signed to this facilitator, and for $150, you're going to get 3 book copies of this book signed and graded, guaranteed a 9.8. It's like, what? Okay, all right. I'm liking this. I'll dig this. Yeah, put me down for this. Put me down for that set. Put me down for this set. So that was through Clan McDonald Comics, and they offered a lot of getting signatures and stuff like that. So it just started snowballing from there. And when I first started on with his stuff, and bye, dog. Go ahead, you're good. It was crazy because it was like every month there was another 3-book set that you could buy slabbed, and it was like the trade dress, the Virgin variant, and a black and white cover. And it was like every month he had something different going on. So that's how it snowballed. It just started snowballing from there. And then, sorry, go ahead.
Well, you would get those 3 book sets. Do you still have all of them?
I do. I've only sold or traded a very few slabs, and that just started recently, just now. To tell you the truth, within maybe the past year that I started selling or trading some.
So it begins slowly with acquiring them. Now it begins slowly with that, and let's see how long it takes for that to snowball.
Well, we'll see, because if I could trade up for books, for higher slab books or for bigger books, I'm definitely going to do that. So, I was going to say with that, with the slabbing and the signing. Oh yeah, so the signing. So then all of a sudden I can get Stan Lee's autograph, and I'm like, why not? Why can't I get Stan Lee's autograph? He's going to have an event there, and that was not through Clan McDonald. That was actually through Comics Elite at the time, and got Stan Lee's autograph, and that was just wicked awesome. It was just great. Thought that was better than sliced bread.
And which book did you get his autograph on?
That was Amazing Spider-Man 151, and you can probably see it on my wall right now. No, you cannot. No, you cannot. I don't think it's in this. I don't think it's in this other picture. It might be if we minimize us. You might see it, because that was my Spider-Man wall at the time. So, yeah, Amazing Spider-Man 151, and it's him coming up out of the sewer, looking all pissed off, type of thing. And so got his signature on that, and it came back at like an 8.5, which was still okay for me, because I just love Stan Lee's signature. Never met the man. Would love to have met him, but never had the opportunity.
That's one of those books I think you're not, the grade is less important than the fact that it's signed and it's verified that it's signed.
Yep. And then later, I got that book signed by John Romita as well. Romita
Nice.
as well. So it's a dual sign book.
So you started with just 3 books, and then it started getting more and started getting more and started getting more.
Yep.
Of all the 297 that you have, do you have an idea of how many of them are books that you sent to get slabbed as opposed to how many that you bought that are already slabbed?
I'm going to say it's more purchased slabbed, or like I purchased the set to have it slabbed. I didn't actually send the book in. Like I purchased it, and part of the package was it was going to get slabbed. So it's definitely more that than me sending them in, because it was always easier. I always felt that the slabbing process or the paperwork you had to fill out for CGC on a book was just, I don't know, insane. I shouldn't have to like fill out a ton of information on a book that they already have. If I'm giving you this book, you should be like, oh yeah, this is Venom number 33. This is this is the A cover for Venom 33. Here's your label. No, I had to like fill out all that crap on the actual submission form on lines that were like this big, that type of thing. So you're sitting there like this, and it was just a pain in the ass. And this buying them or purchasing the package sets was the way I started going, because it was a lot easier, I thought. And then I would send in, a couple of books here and there that I really wanted to get done.
So we see, a lot of the CGC stuff, and you said that, but I also see in the picture of your wall behind you, there's CBCS stuff too. So
Right.
At what point did you realize, like, oh, there's more than one company that does this? And did you, at what point did you realize that and then think, all right, well, I'll get some of their books or I'll send stuff to them too?
Right. So I have, and CBCS was or is the company that we're really, till now, the only company that actually verified signatures. So right now, if you sent off I'll say not now, but let's say last year. Last year, you sent off a book to CGC that had a signature. They would not verify it, and you would get the dreaded green label, of someone wrote on your comic book type of label, and you would get it graded, and there you have it. So CBCS actually had that program where they signature verified, and they would actually verify the signature. Yep, that's truly their signature. Done. That type of thing. And they were the only ones in town that actually did that. So that's why I do have a lot of CBCS stuff. And so fast forward to today, CGC finally got on the ball, and now they're going to actually verify signatures as well. So I've got 2 books that are going to them just for that as well.
So that was the only thing that had you interested in CBCS, is just they'll verify signatures, and that was it.
Correct. Because I always felt like that if you had a signature on there and it's verified, it should be worth a little bit more money than what it's than it generally goes for. So if you got, let's say, a $50 book and I get a signature of somebody on there, well, the value should be the $50 book plus whatever the signature value of the person is. That's how I feel it should be. And if it's not verified and it's just like a scribble on a book, well, anybody can walk up and say, well, that's not their signature. I'm not going to pay for that book. That type of thing.
Yeah. So as we said, you have the the huge amount of graded comics, so much so that you, as we mentioned, started your own YouTube channel, Slab Guy 77 at Sal's Comic Corner. So what was it that made you decide, oh, I'm not just going to collect now, like I'm actually going to start my own YouTube channel, my own Instagram, and I'm going to go and make videos about my books and show them, and and expand that way? What was it that made you decide you wanted to do that?
Actually, I gotta give credit to CodeX. I gotta give credit to the CodeX station for that, and Jamie, because I talked to him about it, and he was like, "You really should have a YouTube channel." And I'm like, I don't know, what am I gonna really say? Hey, I got these books, that type of thing. And he was like, just go out, check them out on YouTube. Just check out a lot of people on YouTube. Follow some people, see if you like it, and see if you want to do it. And I'm like, okay, all right. So I started checking stuff out, and I forget who I didn't really follow anybody. I just kind of watched random videos on people doing stuff, and then a few of the Facebook pages I'm on, some are graded Facebook pages, like graded books only. People will say like, "Show me your collection." So I would see that picture behind in this background here. I would put that up and say, "Well, here's my current slab wall," and people were like, "Oh my god, how did you do that? What'd you use? How'd you get these up there so clean?" I'm like, "Oh, okay." So I made a video of what I did to build this wall behind me here. So it was kind of nice to show how I did things on that.
Yeah, and now you do all the unboxing videos with the knife safety, and
Oh yeah, life
you
safety is so funny. I have to do that every time.
we get to see the 15 variant copies of Venom that you buy
I
every month.
Well, I don't buy 15 copies of Venom, do I? No.
So you've got all of these slab books. Do you have one or two that you would say are favorites?
I guess the signature one by Stan Lee is Amazing Spider-Man 151. That's one of my favorites. Let's see, what do I got on my wall right now? That's some of my favorites. I got the Secret Wars signed by Michael Zeck. That's a favorite. I do have that X-Men 133 signed by Chris Claremont. That's a favorite. The X-Men 212 with Wolverine and him and Sabretooth round one up there in the corner.
Mm-hmm.
That's another favorite. The Green Lantern, Green Arrow, number 76. That's a favorite as well. That's just a classic book. Yeah, I mean, I like them all, but yeah, those are a couple of my favorites there, right off the top of my head. I probably got some more favorites in boxes I haven't cycled through yet to put up yet.
So in other words, you don't have one favorite, just every book that you have is your favorite.
Not every book is my favorite, Close. Everybody's a close second.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So you started just reading with your friends. Then you find a comic store who's like, "Oh, I can make a subscription," and you go right into skipping. You skipped the whole casual reader stage and went right into reading, and then discovered, "Oh, I can get these graded and have these put up," and then as you said, that snowballed. So, how would you say that being a comic fan and reading and collecting comics has impacted your life?
I liked it because it was like an escape, from reality. I felt, it was a whole different world that I didn't have to. Any of my problems didn't worry. I didn't have to worry about them in the comic world. I could read this. I could enjoy it. I could feel a connection to some characters. I could feel some connections to the stories, and I didn't have to worry about my real life for at least an hour or two that I was reading books.
And where do you think that you would be without comics?
Lying dead in a ditch somewhere. Honestly, I don't even know. I can't even phantom that. That's a what if. That's a what if story that I couldn't even think about right now. I wouldn't know. I couldn't even tell you.
All right. Well, do you have any parting words, any wisdom that you would like to instill with us?
Collect what you want. Show off what you want. Don't listen to anybody else. Be patient while hunting for a book. Learn that. Don't worry about FOMO. You can always, don't. I fall victim of FOMO lots of times, and I kicked myself when I could see the book a year later for $5 and I spent $30 on it. So.
And I'm the opposite way. I'll see a book and and I'll be like, I don't really think I can spend that much on it. A year later, it's 10 times the value. I'm like, oh, I could have gotten this then, and I didn't.
Right. Yep. So that's all I really got.
All right. Well, thanks for taking the time to be the like you said, the next one in the line of CodeX guys to tell us about your life in comics.
I hope it gave you some insight on me.
Most of it I already knew.
I know you did.
But that's just because, if anyone
Oh,
doesn't
yeah.
know out there, me and Sal live about 15
minutes.
minutes from each other. So we go to the same shop that we meet up at every week. We go to the conventions together. We do all these shows together. So
Yep.
we have talked about this multiple times before this.
He probably could have answered all my questions before, it didn't need me on the interview. He could probably just said, well, Sal's going to answer this. I'm surprised you didn't ask. I was going to say, I'm surprised you didn't ask me how many Venom books I own.
How many Venom books do you own, Sal?
I can't disclose that this time.
Yeah, okay.
I do own a lot.
All right. Well, thanks for sitting down and talking with me. And until next time, I will tell everybody to have a 9.8 day, and we'll see you by the spinner rack.